Hey guys, this story is called When the Dead Sang in Their Graves. In the old days of Charleston, it was the law that there was to be no interments between sunset and sunrise. The gates of the burial grounds would close at sunset, and no one but the gatekeeper would be allowed on the grounds after that point. This particular evening, it was eerily silent. The gatekeeper could feel a sense of heaviness in the air, so he opened the doors of the chapel and the windows to try to let some fresh air in and relieve the heaviness. As he pushed back the shutters, he heard the faint sounds of bells tolling somewhere. 3 strokes, then silence. 3 more strokes, and silence again. Now, he didn't recognize where the bells were, but being a good man, he knew that it meant death, so he bowed his head and let out a silent prayer. That particular day, it had been very hot, and there was a mist coming through the graveyard as the new moon hung low in the west. Suddenly, there came this puff of excessively hot wind that just came through the area. So the gatekeeper says, it's gonna storm. Gatekeeper continues on with his work, even with the sudden mysterious bells still ringing in the background. Each heavy boom of the bells seemed to be followed by a loud rumble of thunder. This disturbed the gatekeeper and his dog. The dog had been laying motionless for quite some time until he began to suddenly jerk. The gatekeeper bent down to gently caress his dog, and the dog didn't give off any bark. In fact, he just kind of cowered and whimpered behind his master. "Hush, you old thing," said the gatekeeper. Then all of a sudden this mysterious music started to play in the graveyard. The dog also heard it and took off running towards the doors, growling and snarling as if he was staring at someone. The sound of music came in again, this time kind of far off and faint, and unlike any music he'd heard before. With his head cocked to one side, he listened as hard as he could. The sound was louder. It's as if there was a volume of a large funeral chorus happening. Gatekeeper startled. What funeral could be going on at this time of night? Now, he'd been gatekeeper there for 20 years, so this was completely unusual to him. He'd never known such a thing to happen, with the exception of the time the yellow fever came through Charleston. And at this moment, it was just a few minutes until it was time for sunset and for the gates to be permanently closed. So where was the sound coming from? He walked through the graveyard, expecting to find a crowd of mourners, only to be met with that mysterious white mist. There was music coming from somewhere, and he couldn't tell which direction it was coming in, not the beginning of it or the end. Suddenly, the earth cracked from beneath his feet, and from that crack came the sounds of singing. Every hair on his body rose, and he was cold in spite of the heat. The dead were singing in their graves. "God have mercy on my soul," he said, and he took off running. The next day, the great earthquake in Charleston happened.